Welcome to the May Patreon Knit Tea Society podcast. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's just me today. Jenny's got some busy stuff going on, building work in the house, all sorts of things, so you'll have to put up with me today. So I thought I would talk to you about summer knitting, which is somewhat hilarious because it's about 11 degrees today in South Wales. It is grey and it is cold and I've got hot Ribena and a blanket on my lap. But I'm being optimistic. Anybody else that lives in the UK will know that we've had some truly apocalyptic weather recently, sort of gale force winds, and I think Wales has already had 180% of its monthly rainfall, and we're not quite at the end of the month yet. Anyway, we can dream. We can dream. Right, summer knits. I've pulled out some bits and pieces to share with you, including the 3 summer knits that I've completed so far, previously, in the past, and some yarn that I think would be good for possible future knits, and some pattern suggestions and bits and pieces. It's really only in the last couple of years that I've thought of summer knitting, knitted summer tops as something that I'd actually wear. And I'd like to do some more, but I'm a little bit uncertain on what I want, what would be suitable, all these kind of things. Hopefully, having watched this, some of you will have a couple of suggestions as to patterns that you think are great, or yarns you think would work, or stuff that I should avoid altogether. So yeah, leave me comments down below and hopefully between us I can figure something out. Let's start with the summer knits that I've already got. This is slightly crumpled because I pack away my knitwear out of season just to keep it safe from moths and things like this, and I haven't put any steam over this to straighten it out. This is the Featherweight cardigan by Hannah Fettig, and I knitted this, I finished it in July of 2015, so quite a long time ago, and the yarn is absolutely gorgeous. It's called Seriously Gorgeous Laceweight by Knitwitches. I don't know if they're still dying. And the yarn is a mix of baby alpaca, cashmere and silk, and it's a lace weight. So this is a very popular pattern. I'm sure a lot of you have got one of these. It's a top-down raglan cardigan in a lace weight with a 3/4 length sleeve, and it's not designed to fully close at the front. I'll put a picture up here of me wearing mine. You'll see from the project photos that I put up, me slowly getting older and wider. But I wear this a lot. I am probably one, if not 2 dress sizes larger now than I was when I knit this. But even when I first finished it, I found that it didn't quite sit on my shoulders terribly well. It would sort of work its way off eventually, and I don't know if that's because it's a raglan. I don't have any other raglan cardigan patterns apart from the one I'm knitting at the moment that I haven't finished. So maybe it's because it's a raglan, maybe it's because it's not designed to close, so it's supposed to have a massive gap in the middle and there isn't quite enough fabric to keep it on you. But even so, I do wear it a great deal. It could absolutely do with a freshen up, a bit of a deep pill. It's a little bit fuzzy under the arms, but I will continue to wear this a lot. I don't have very much lace weight at all in my stash in terms of knitting another one, and the only lace weight I do have is also purple. But that's seen a lot of use. I like wearing that very much indeed. The other pattern I have, let me try and do this in terms of time passed since I made it, is this top, and this is the Tegna by Caitlin Hunter, and I made this before all of the hoo-ha surrounding Caitlin Hunter's questionable attitudes, and I love the top. I really enjoyed knitting it. It has this nice lacy hem at the bottom. I finished this in July 2019 and I made it out of Midwinter Yarn's Lithuanian linen in the colourway Avocado. And I wasn't sure how I'd feel about knitting with linen. It doesn't have the same amount of bounce and stretch as wool yarn, but it's not as hard on my hands as cotton. So I quite enjoyed working with it. The Lithuanian linen is a heavy lace weight or a light fingering, which means that to get, I wrote this down because I'm organised, that I wanted the medium size finished object, but I had to use the numbers for the 2XL to end up with the medium because I had a much lighter weight yarn. But it worked really well. And the only thing I regret is I knitted a good few inches more on the body than the pattern called for, and I shouldn't have done. It turns out that this lace border, which has held the block beautifully, linen really holds the block, it's still crisp, really nice stitch definition. But this wide lace border hits me around the widest part of my backside. I'll put a picture up here and you'll see exactly what I mean. This was me wearing it for the first time, I think, at Yarningham of that summer, 2019. It doesn't stop me wearing it, but it's not great. My options, it's bottom up. So I'd have to rip all of this out to take some of the length out of it, or I could snip a stitch and rip a good few inches out and then graft it back together. But linen is not terribly forgiving. I'd have to be very careful to match my tension all the way across the round. I'm just thinking, don't know if you can see there. Where did it go? Can you see the difference just here? That's where I wove my ends in, and you can sort of see it a bit. So I'm not sure what to do about that. Do I just wear it as it is and accept that I'll be a little wider than I'd like? Or do I rip? Do I cut and take a chunk out? It doesn't stop me wearing it. I do love it. I love the colour. And I have bought another garment quantity of linen from Isabelle of Midwinter, and I bought it in a dark navy and an oatmeal colour with plans to design a Breton tee to release as a pattern, and I've had the yarn for about 2 years now. I still haven't started it, but I like this very much. I like that it's the sleeve comes down to my elbow. I sunburn really easily, so I'd much rather be slightly more covered up for summer just because it's easier. But yeah, I enjoy wearing it. It's a lovely colour and I very much enjoy working with linen. Quick sip of Ribena. The other summer top is my most recent one. And this is the Mount Pleasant tee by Megan Nodecker. So it's definitely a cropped tee. It's bottom up with a nice lacy hem at the bottom. You increase a little bit for the sleeves, so they're like little cap sleeves, a little bit of ribbing at the top. And I'm sure lots of you will recognise this colourway. This is dyed by Caroline of Colourful Creativity, and it was her first ever exclusive Knit Tea Retreat colourway. It's called Pinkies Up, and I bought 2 skeins of this at our very first retreat in Cardiff 2018. And I finished knitting it in April 2020, so last year. I only had 2 skeins of this yarn, and I did knit this a little bit longer than the pattern called for because I'm tall, but I still had quite a decent mini left over. I probably had 20 grams left over. And I wear this a lot. I tend to put a jersey camisole underneath it. I've got one in a sort of a darker purple colour. But I absolutely love the yarn, and there's so many different flecks of colour in it. When I was knitting it up, you just had to keep going to get to the next little pop of colour. So yeah, I enjoyed knitting this a lot. I enjoy wearing it a lot, and I know that I could probably get another ½ inch out of length if I used another 2 skeins of yarn to make another one, and it would be quite easy to, you know, put a ribbed hem in or change the lace pattern out and just sort of play around with it a bit, or maybe put some sort of lace in across the top maybe to make it a bit more interesting. Again, I dug all of these out of hibernation, so they are looking a little creased, but yeah, I really enjoyed that one. Yeah, so that was by Megan Nodecker, and I know that the Mount Pleasant goes up to a really nice inclusive size range as well, so that's encouraging. So those are the garments I've already got. So what about making more of something? I've got a project I started, maybe over a year ago. I'd have to go back and check. I think I deleted it off my projects on Ravelry, and I can't put my hands on my knitting notebook right now. But this is a Rift t-shirt, and Rift is a pattern by Jacqueline Cieslak. Somewhere in here I've got the tag. So I'm knitting this in some yarn that was gifted to me, well, sent to me for free by Knitcrate. I'm part of their ambassador affiliate scheme. The vast majority of the yarn they send me I give away. I usually save it for treat giveaways and things like this, but I was sent 2 skeins of this yarn, which is Audine Wool's Interlock, and mine is the colourway Beaches, and it's sort of a creamy pearly with hints of sort of blush in it. Is that focusing? There we go. And it's a chain construction, which is quite fun. And back to me. There we go. And it is a summer yarn. It's 34% cotton, 35% linen, 19% lyocell, 11% nylon, and a sport weight. So you get 351 yards in 100 grams. Again, I'll put a picture up here of the pattern, although I'm sure you recognise it. You can choose between short and long sleeves, round and V-neck, and I can't remember if I decided. One month Knitcrate sent me 2 balls of this yarn in the most amazing orange colourway, and anybody that watches Angela of Yarn and Yarns knows how she feels about orange, so I felt I had to give those to Angela, and she knitted a Rift tee out of it. I can't remember which version she did, but she managed to get her top out of 2 skeins, which gave me the courage to give it a go. And yes, that is the right way around. This is how far I had got. So hopefully you can see the colour variation a little better there. So it's sort of cream with a pearly grey lilac colour. It has a split hem, which is longer at the back than at the front, and it has a panel of ribbing up the side. I thought that I had tucked the pattern in the bag when I put it into hibernation. Turns out I didn't. So I'm on my second ball of yarn, but I've got most of it left, I think. And maybe I'm ready to start the armpits. I might be, because again, it's a slightly cropped, I'm just, you can't see, I'm smoothing it over myself. Yeah, and although, you know, I've had 3 children, nobody needs to be looking at my stomach in a cropped top, least of all me. But this again would be something I'd probably wear with a camisole underneath. Apart from anything else, it very rarely gets that hot in Wales that you don't want a vest. So I think what I need to do is count my stitches, and hopefully from that I'll be able to work out what size I'm knitting. I've still got the pattern in my Ravelry library, so I can download that again. And you know, I think I might be playing a bit of yarn chicken with it, but I think this, because it's a cotton and linen, I think this is going to grow a bit when I block it. So I might have knitted as far as the armpits, and just meant to block it to see how far I've got. So I will have to investigate. It's even still on the needles, and these are some Knit Pro basics. They've got a black cable. They're probably 5.5 by the looks of it, but I remember I didn't have the right size needles, so I bought these from Angela as well. So there we go. So that's something in progress, and if I can work out how far I've got, I can carry on with that. And I haven't got a huge amount of knitting left, so there's that. So I you know, I quite fancy that. I don't usually knit cream things, but I think it's got enough of a colour in it that I can probably get away with it without looking like I've dyed. Maybe I talked about it on one of my previous podcasts and I could go back and have a look. Who knows? So that's the rift. I had a little rummage through my stash before I started recording, partly to find that rift. I knew I had that somewhere in a box, and also to see if I had any other summer yarns. And I went through my pattern clipboard because I thought I had some patterns on there, and I do. One of the patterns I found on my clipboard is by Isabelle Kraemer, and it's called Yume, Y-U-M-E. Again, I'll put up a picture up here. So it's a round neck, short sleeve tee, again in a sport weight, and it just has a little bit of lace around the collar. And I spotted that Grace of Babel's Yarns was wearing this on one of her podcasts. She knit it up in some of her hand spun, and I just thought it would look really nice. Just a useful pattern that you can put on with a pair of jeans or over a pair of shorts. And again, it's got the coverage across the chest and the shoulders that I like to stop me burning. But I don't have any sport weight yarn for it. I think if I used my Lithuanian linen held double, that might be about right, but I need that for a design. So does anybody here have any recommendations for a summer sport weight yarn? Because I think I could probably treat myself to some. Yeah, maybe a cotton or a linen blend, or to be honest, at a sport weight, even a pure wool would be okay. I think Carthen at Triskelion has some sport weight, but we'll see. So that's a pattern I've got. The other pattern, and I've had this for donkey's years, literally donkey's years. It's something I bought when I first discovered Ravelry, and it is the Lyttelton shrug pattern by Kate Davies Designs. It's a cables and lace shrug, and it's the sort of top that you just knit a big old rectangle, close up the ends a little bit, add some ribbing all the way around, and then at the upper arms. And I've got, again, this is deep stash, some Debbie Bliss Rialto 4-ply, which is 100% merino in this lovely purple colour. What's the colourway? 22020. And I've got 6 balls. So I've got 300 grams of this, which I think would be plenty for the shrug pattern, or plenty to just knit myself a summer t-shirt, like a basic summer weight tee. The only thing I'm a bit nervous of is I used Rialto 4-ply in a brown and cream to knit my stasis jumper. If I remember, I'll pop a picture up. It's gorgeous to work with, really nice and soft, but it grows. So whilst it's lovely yarn, I won't be buying any more of it. So maybe a lightweight tee or a shrug would be a good choice for it, because you haven't got a full cardigan or jumper's weight pulling it down to stretch it out. So yeah, maybe I could knit the Lyttelton pattern out of this. That's sort of, the pattern was in the bag with the yarn. That's obviously what I'd thought about using it for, but that was before I knit the incredibly stretchy jumper. So that's one option. The other yarn that I dug out was this little bag of Rowan, and it's Rowan Softyak DK, and I've got two colourways. I've got shade 240, which is this lovely forest green colour, and I've got shade 248, which is a sort of very pale greeny blue. And I bought these from Angela of Yarn and Yarns when she was moving out of her bricks and mortar store, and she just had more yarn than she could fit in her spare room. So I've got 6 balls of the dark green and 2 balls of the pale, which means I've got 810 metres and 270 metres. Now in my head, I was going to knit a short sleeve jumper, maybe with a colourwork band around the bottom. And even though it's got yak in it, this is a summer yarn. It is 76% cotton, 15% yak and 9% nylon. And again, it's got that chain construction. Can you see? Actually, while I've got it focused there, there's the other colourway. Absolutely gorgeous. So although it's a DK weight with yak in it, it is mostly cotton. It's 76% cotton. And I'm hopeful that the chain ply construction of it will make it not stretchy. But dark green isn't really terribly summery. And I'm already knitting a green cardigan. So do I knit a, maybe I just knit a short sleeve t-shirt out of it. And it can be a transitional piece, because I could wear a long sleeve t-shirt underneath. So yeah, I've got 800 metres and 270 metres, so I've got quite a lot of yarn. Or I could just do stripes maybe. Those are my choices. So I've got the soft yak, I've got the purple 4-ply. Let me know what you think. Do you think I should knit the shrug with the purple yarn? Have you got any pattern suggestions for a short sleeved colourwork jumper that I could knit with this? Or do you have any other summer patterns that you'd like to recommend? I'd love to hear what you've got on your needles or what you've knitted in the past and get loads of wear out of. And even though I've got an awful lot on my needles at the moment, I would like to cast something else on. I'll definitely pick back up my my Rift tee, and that will give me some time to contemplate what else I'm up to. So yeah, let me know in the comments underneath this, either on YouTube or back over in the Patreon group. That's fine. And as I mentioned, it is very optimistic of me to be thinking about summer knitting at the moment, because the weather is so terrible. Dave and I went on a nice walk last weekend. We used to do loads of hiking and mountain biking and camping before we had the kids. And then we had kids and then we opened a business. So our weekends are either incredibly busy or we just need to lie face down on the living room floor for the rest of it to try and recover. But I miss the walking. And now that our kids are older, my youngest has just turned 14, you know, we can absolutely abandon them for half a day and just go for a nice walk. So I prompted Dave to find us some nice walking routes in the county that we live in, which is the Vale of Glamorgan. And interestingly, it was on the council website. They have a little walk section, which if I remember, I'll link it below. Just writing it on my notepad so I don't forget. Walks link. And there was, I think they had 4 there of different distances and different complexities and things like that, with a map of the route and then little photographs of places of interest that you'd find along the way. And there's one that started in Dunraven Bay, which is a little bit further west than us. And so Dave downloaded the route onto his phone and then left his phone at home. So it didn't matter. We didn't follow that exact route, and it's quite a well-worn path, so we weren't in any danger of getting lost. But I did take a little bit of video footage, so I will leave you with a bit of our weekend walk, which was mostly in the rain. So maybe I should just cast on for a DK weight yak jumper. We'll have to see. Anyway, thank you very much for watching this month's podcast. I hope you enjoy it. Check down below for the details of all the patterns I talk about and links to various places. And I hope you enjoy the little bit of walking footage at the end. We'll see you next month. Bye.